Well, let's get started. First off, thank you everyone for joining us here today. Today with me I have the Honourable Lloyd Parrott, Minister of Energy and Mines, and the Honourable Helen Conway Ottenheimer, Minister of Justice and Public Safety and Attorney General. A little more than a year ago, the previous government announced the Memorandum of Understanding between Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro and Hydro-Quebec to fully develop the Churchill River on Gull Island. As you will recall, at the time, the former Premier announced that this deal would allow us to tear up the original 1969 Churchill Falls deal. Regardless of our political differences, we should all agree that replacing the terrible 1969 deal was and remains our ultimate goal. Likewise, we should also all agree on the importance of continuing to develop the Churchill River and Gull Island. It is a generational opportunity for our province. We should all want a deal that makes Newfoundlanders and Labradorians the primary beneficiary of our own resources. We should all want a deal that will electrify Labrador. We should all want a deal that will create thousands of good jobs in the trades. And we should all want a deal that will generate billions of dollars of new economic activity and revenue so that we can afford the better services that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians deserve to see. What many disagree on is whether this deal is actually that kind of deal. For much of the past year, our province has been engaged in a passionate debate about maximizing the potential of this incredible asset. On one side, there has been serious and substantial critiques of the deal raised by Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. These critics include former political leaders and public servants, business leaders, analysts, and academics. At the same time, we have heard from defenders of the MOU, including many in our business community, who claim it represents an economic opportunity for our province and that the deal in front of us is, in fact, the best deal we should hope to get. Defenders include opposition leader John Hogan, who continues to demand that I rubber stamp the same MOU he signed off on. Well, I regret to inform Mr. Hogan that the era of a rubber stamp government is over. Instead, today our new government, a government for all of us, is making it clear that the people of Newfoundland and Labrador must receive a full, transparent, and truly independent accounting of this or any other deal before we sign anything. This has always been my position. During last year's debate, I made my position clear when I said the former Premier should bring the MOU before a truly independent panel. On the very first day of the fall election, I repeated that commitment when I said I would subject any deal to a truly independent review with full public accountability. This remains my position now that we are in government. Today, I am pleased to announce that we will be forming a new independent review process that will be empowered as a public inquiry under Part 2 of the Public Inquiries Act. While many people associate public inquiries with scandals, I want to make it perfectly clear that this was never my motivation when deciding to construct the independent review in this manner. Instead, by defining the review in this way, we are ensuring that the committee leading the review will have the full authority to access whatever information they deem relevant and necessary to answer the questions outlined in their terms of reference. The independent review will be chaired by Chris Huskilson, the current president and CEO of 5H Holdings, and the former president and CEO of Emera Incorporated, one of the largest utility holding companies in North America. An engineer by training, Mr. Huskilson is one of the most knowledgeable experts in North America about economics, financing, and benefits agreements of major energy capital projects. Mr. Hutchinson will be joined on the committee by one member of the previous government's oversight panel, Dr. Guy Holborn. Finally, Michael Wilson has agreed to rejoin this process as the third and final member of our independent review committee. I want to take this moment to thank the three members of the independent review committee for stepping up to this responsibility at this critical moment in our province's history. They have a lot of work ahead of them, but with future generations of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians counting on us to get this right, I am confident we have the right people for the job. As this new, truly independent review committee begins its work, the former oversight panel has been dissolved. In going about their work, the members of our new independent review committee will be guided by a comprehensive terms of reference that we are releasing today. People need to know whether we are getting the most out of this proposed deal. People have serious questions about the time frame, guarantee of jobs, and revenue we should expect. The information gathering and analysis that our independent review committee is empowered to undertake is designed to ensure we can finally answer a single question. Is this MOU in the best long-term interest for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador? We are giving the committee 4 months to complete its final report. It will be delivered to our government and tabled in the House of Assembly and released to the public. Whatever the conclusions of the independent review committee, my ultimate commitment to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador remains the same. You will have your say on any deal before I sign it. As others have pointed out, this process will take a little more time to get right, and I'm okay with that. This is about getting the best deal, not getting the fastest deal, and I will not be rushed by any artificial deadline. I will always stand up for our province's best interests. This is non-negotiable, and this means my government is always going to demand that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians are always the primary beneficiary of our own resources. Full stop. So no matter who sits across from me, whether it's the Prime Minister, the Premier of Quebec, or anyone else, this does not change. We have the power. Others need the power. We will develop Churchill Falls and Gull Island. We will electrify Labrador, and we will always be ready to talk to anybody, anywhere, in order to get a deal done. But we will only develop our resources on our terms. We will do so with transparency. We will do so asking the most important question: will this help the people of Newfoundland and Labrador? And we will always guarantee that you, the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, will have your say on the Churchill River. Thank you very much, and I'm ready to take any questions.
How are these committee members selected?
So what we have done over the last while, we have heard from, listened to, as we've traveled around the province, the people of Newfoundland and Labrador have talked about their concerns with this MOU. So what we have done is looked at how can we make this better, and we've looked at how we would develop a terms of reference. And what you'll see in the terms of reference are references to many of the questions that have been asked by people all over Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'd like to point out that at the end of that, we've provided a list of questions, but at the very end, it says, in addition to the matters the inquiry committee is encouraged to consider, the inquiry committee may review, analyze, and comment on any matter related to the memorandum of understanding it considers necessary to determine whether the memorandum of understanding is in the best long-term interests of the people of the province. Two of the committee members, as you are aware, are members of the former committee that were appointed by the Liberal government, and Chris Hutchinson has agreed to chair.
Are you the one that chose them to be on the panel?
Did you appoint them?
I've spoken to all three of those and asked them to be part of this panel, yes.
How did you
decide?
Just as I just outlined, we talked about the important thing here is what we put in the terms of reference. Because the previous committee did not have the flexibility to do what we're asking to be done now. This should have been done back in January. This full independent review should have had a terms of reference just like this, should have had the ability to speak on any issue, look at any materials, and discuss with anybody they needed to. But that wasn't provided. We are now doing that. They have the freedom to do and review this MOU like it should have been done back in January.
Is 4 months enough time to do this?
Yes, I think 4 months is adequate time to do this.
You have said on the day that you were sworn in as MHA that you were thinking about a 60-day time frame. At Power in Politics, you were talking about a 90-day time frame. Now we're in 4 months. So can you explain the evolution of thinking there and how you arrived at this time frame?
As we developed our terms of reference and as we developed and looked at the type of questions that could be asked, the type of investigation we needed to have, and in consultation with the 3 members of the committee, we agreed on this time frame.
You said also the day you were sworn in that you would be launching this review within weeks. It's been, a month and a half, almost 2 months. Why did this take so long?
Well, I would argue that I've turned around and done in 6 weeks what the previous Liberal government failed to do in almost a year. Almost a year. I've been calling for this since last January. If this had been started last January instead of what we put in place, we could have had this review done.
Just to be clear on the 4 months, what is the deadline for this report to be submitted to government?
It's outlined in the April 30th, I believe.
You criticized as well the Liberals for appointing Dennis Brown because he had already publicly stated his opinion on the MOU. We know that Michael Wilson also has publicly stated his opinion on the MOU. What's the difference here?
I think the difference is significant. Mr. Wilson spoke up as a member of a panel that he was appointed to, and he had the courage to stand up and tell Newfoundlanders and Labradorians that, hold on a second, we're not really getting into the gist of what we ought to be looking at under a review. He raised those concerns. He expressed those concerns into a letter, which I made public since, and I have all the confidence in the world in Mr. Wilson.
Do you know how much this might cost?
The expected cost is around $1 million, but let me be clear that this committee will have whatever resources it needs, whatever they need in terms of whether it's legal resources or technical resources, they will have the resources they need to do a full independent review.
Speaking of Mr. Brown, what is his status as consumer advocate? Is he still in that role or has he been replaced?
No, nothing's changed.
One of the issues that has come up with Mr. Wilson and some of the discussions when he stepped forward was why the review that they were doing was looking exclusively at the MOU and they weren't allowed to look at things, say, before in the lead up, and why things were narrowed to what's in the MOU. Why are you limiting this to specifically the MOU and not opening it up to, I guess, more outside questions?
Well, I think if you look through the terms of reference, and when you read through the terms of reference, you will see that we have broadened the scope significantly. They can talk to anyone they want to talk to. They can turn around and ask for whatever information they want to. So that's included in the terms of reference.
For the 4 months then, how can you expect to finish this in 4 months if they're, I guess, looking at any and all options? Wouldn't that require even more time?
That's the guideline. That's they feel they can do it in 4 months. I agree with them.
Is that something they brought to you? Did they push for that, or?
No, we talked about that. It was a mutual agreement on the time frame.
The final part of this, the terms of reference says that the final report can't contain privileged, commercially sensitive information that could, there's a printing error, but that could have an impact on the financial loss or harm to the province. How do you, what does that mean specifically? What can't be in this report?
So basically, I'm leaving that up to the committee to decide. They will decide what can or can't be in their report from a commercial sensitivity point of view.
You're still committed to holding a referendum?
Yes.
The committee comes back and says they need more time. Would you be at all flexible on this, or is this?
Well, that's obviously something that absolutely, if they come back and ask us that they need to have more time or flexibility, there will be flexibility. But I have set a deadline. I expect a report by April 30th.
What have the discussions been like with Hydro on this? Are they fully on board? Is there any set of a 10% limitations on what gets looked at?
Hydro, we've met with Hydro today, and they are fully on board and are looking forward to the independent review.
Any changes expected at Hydro and senior leadership? Because they've been pretty strong proponents of the MOU as it stands.
No.
What's the status of negotiations right now? What's going on?
So right now, Minister, if you'd want to speak to that quickly.
So technical non-bonding negotiations have been ongoing, which is a requirement to move anything forward. Other than that, negotiations will cease, other than the technical aspect that's been happening all along.
And that's until the review is done?
Yes.
Can you be more specific on what that means, the technical negotiations?
So any feed studies, any pre-engineering, any type of seismic work that needed to be done, any of those types of things that need to happen leading up to any project, no different than the announcement of any project. There's pre-feasibility engineering, all that stuff done. Those negotiations have been ongoing, all high level, all non-binding, very technical. But when it comes to the MOU itself, there will be no negotiations. There has been.
Realistically, is there any purpose on continuing to push that forward if ultimately you may not go in that direction?
Timelines haven't changed. Our goal is to develop all of these resources.
Timelines haven't changed, but the deadline for this is April 30th.
So what we're doing is, there's a lot of technical issues, non-binding things that can be done, that will continue to be done. But we're not going to, those are the things that we're focused on right now. We're going to be meeting with from Hydro's perspective, we will be meeting with them in the next couple of days to talk about where to from here, to answer your question.
Were there negotiations happening toward binding agreements? Like, were there binding negotiations?
They've been doing for the last while, they've been talking about, as the minister alluded to, the technical issues and the non-binding.
So this will bring us up to the end of April, and then you say that you are still committed to holding a referendum. That will take time, obviously.
The referendum,
Is it possible that this will still be
but
signed in
let's be
2026?
clear, what we're working towards here is a review of an MOU. We have not signed a deal yet or prepared a deal. Once the deal is finalized, once we're ready to sign a deal, we will bring it back to the people at that time. But right now, we're talking about the review of an MOU to make sure that this is indeed represents the best opportunity for Newfoundland and Labrador.
Christine Frechette, the Quebec Energy Minister, said in an interview that published over the weekend that if the CAQ government loses the next election in Quebec, she fears for the future of this deal. Do you agree with her?
Well, I can't predetermine or what might happen in Quebec. All I am concerned about are the people of Newfoundland and Labrador and the future generations of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I have said that right from the get-go, and I will continue to be that. That is our concern. Let's make sure, as I have said repeatedly, this is our resource. Let's develop it with our people for the benefit of our people.
You're not worried you might miss an opportunity if the government changes?
I can't be worried about that opportunity. I'm worried about making sure that I get the best deal for Newfoundland and Labrador. And I believe that we will sit down if the Quebec government wants to continue to work with us. We're more than happy to work with them.
Have you had any discussions with any of the senior leadership in the Quebec government?
I have the Premier of Quebec has reached out to me and invited me to come to Quebec, and I will do that in the new year.
So nothing to date, though, just to be clear.
Nothing in terms of from a government perspective. I mean, clearly Hydro Quebec and Newfoundland Labrador Hydro would have had those ongoing negotiations as part of those technical issues and non-binding areas.
Minister Frechette, also in that interview, she seemed to believe that your stance on a referendum was that it would be held if appropriate. Why do you think she said that?
No idea. You'll have to ask her.
You're 100% committed we're going to have
Yes.
a referendum? Okay. They believe, at the beginning of this, the review committee said that they expected, 12 to 20 final agreements to emerge from this MOU. How will a referendum work on that
The whole
many
point.
agreements?
The whole point of this is to get to that point, and that's where we're to today. The first thing we have to do is make sure we've turned around and launched an independent review of the MOU. Let's get through that first, then we'll talk about the rest.
Will the committee hold public hearings?
The committee will not hold public hearings, but they will invite public commentary. In other words, any written submissions from the general public will be welcomed, and it says that right there in the terms of reference.
In terms of the membership of the committee, why go specifically with Mr. Huskelson, who
Why not?
has a relationship, though, like to the commercial dealings around the energy system in Newfoundland and Labrador? Why not go for somebody on the outside?
Well, I think Mr. Huskelson is a very prominent business person, independent, and has a fantastic representation, and certainly would not put himself in any conflict of interest position. He has a reputation to uphold, and I'm delighted that we were able to get somebody of that caliber.
Are the panelists being paid?
Yes. I don't have the exact details of their contract, but I will tell you they're all being paid the same.
Do you have an estimate how much the whole process is going to cost?
It's roughly $1 million.
Is there any sort of, I been able to go through all the details yet, of course, but is there any sort of indigenous aspect to this in terms of like direct conferences or consultations required as part
Well,
of it?
that'll be up to the committee. We expect them to engage with Indigenous representations. I did reach out to the Grand Chief of the Innu Nation before I came down here, and I have my officials, and I will be speaking to him again after I finish today.
Any immediate response to the idea of this review?
No, you'll have to ask them that.
So once this review comes back, what happens then?
Well, that's predetermining. I'll have to wait until we get the review.
Will you treat it like, I guess, pass fail? If this review comes back and they say, some of it's good, we like the Gull Island part, not the Churchill Falls part, what will you do?
Well, again, that depends on what the recommendations are. That's why we're doing an independent review, because I want it to be truly independent. I want to hear from the people, and they will have an opportunity to talk to, as I just alluded to, anybody and everyone that they wish to talk to. Whatever information they think they need to do their report, they will have access to that information. So we're going to make all that available, and I look forward to getting the recommendations going into the House of Assembly. That's one of the other things you'll see there. We're going to bring it into the House of Assembly, and we're going to release it public.
Forgive me if I missed this, but is Hydro-Quebec aware of these plans? Like it's launching,
Yes.
it's 4 months? Okay.
I think some people will see this as, just in a way to oust Dennis Brown from the equation. What do you say to that?
I'd say I'm not focused on individuals. I'm focused on the issue. I'm focused on making sure that the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, that our future and the future generations after us will have an opportunity to perhaps sit back and say that we got it right. We took our time. We did it right. And we could show that. And that's what this is all about. This is what it's always been about, right since last year when I have talked about the need to do the independent review. This is too important to be anything other than that.
And just going back to the budget, you said around $1 million. What other than the pay for the members? What kind of cost will come up with this?
Well, they will prepare a budget, but I suspect administrative support, office support, all of those type of things will be included in those numbers.
What would you say to people who would describe where we are now as maybe, throwing out the MOU as it existed? I mean, realistically, the timeframes that you're talking about won't match with what they originally announced. And basically are going to say, well, this is basically a rebooting or an attempt to put forward a PC version of something
I have
that's
said,
different.
I have said right from the outset that, I will not be held bound by any artificial deadlines. I think for me, I keep going back to it. As I said in my opening comments, we all have lived with the 69 agreement. We all want to see that replaced. But in doing so, we have to make sure that we've looked at the options of what they are. And I'm not going to predetermine what the committee will or won't say. That's going to be up to the committee, and that's why they've been given the authority to do what they're being asked to do. And I look forward to getting their report.
How do you think I'm just curious how this is interpreted in Quebec. A year after this is announced, we're launching a review process, and I wonder what that does to the relationship you have with the Quebec government, Patrick Quebec, and trying to actually get this thing passed.
Well, like I said, the Premier of Quebec has reached out, and I will look forward to sitting down with the Premier and having that chat.
Was that chat before now, though? I think that's a big question, is why not speak to them about this before releasing it?
Well, we notified them that we were releasing it, and I had a previous conversation with the Minister of Energy when they were here for the governors and Eastern provinces meetings.
But why not do that premier to premier discussion just before all of this happened? Just to get a sense of where they're at.
We've turned around, like I said before, my interest is for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. I've always been focused on the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. I remain focused on the people of Newfoundland and Labrador and getting the best deal for our province.
You said you'll talk to anyone anywhere interested. Have you heard from anyone else yet?
Well, there's been lots of chatter, but no, I haven't had a direct call.
And could those conversations take place while this review is happening, or would you want that to be?
Well, I think that I suspect that the review panel themselves will probably be interested in hearing from other people, and that's up to them who they wish to talk to, and anybody that wishes to reach out to them.
Is Carl Smith or some of the others who are involved in the negotiations still engaged on that level, or has
Yes.
that changed? Okay. Can there be any sort of release of any terms that are put to them on kind of their direction for what they should be doing right now, or?
Well, that's part of the discussions that we'll have with Newfoundland Labrador Hydro over the next few days.
So really all of them, though, are, they're sort of a pin in their work, like they're not necessarily active right now?
Well, we've been describing exactly what's been happening for the last little while, and the negotiations have continued, dealing with the technical issues and the non-binding issues.
How did Hydro-Quebec respond when you informed them of this plan?
Well, again, that's why we'll have those conversations with them.
You said you met Hydro this morning.
Newfoundland Labrador Hydro, yes.
Were they involved at all in the preparation of these terms around?
I've had briefings. The ministers had briefings from Newfoundland Labrador Hydro in the past.
Briefings, but were they involved in preparation of this?
But those briefings would have brought forward the information that they had at their disposal and shared with us.
How binding are the recommendations of this committee? Like, can you reject them entirely?
Well, my intent is to make all of those recommendations public and have a debate in the House of Assembly.
Or are you bound to follow those recommendations?
Well, I can't say that I'm bound by anything other than that I've got this independent review committee doing their work, and I look forward to their report.
Just going back to the Quebec election next fall, have you spoken to any of the other parties about their take on this?
No, they've already made their positions clear. They support the MOU. They stood in the House of Assembly and voted for the MOU. They voted for the other review committee that was in the House of Assembly. They were all fine with that. I wasn't. I didn't think it was an independent review committee. I thought the terms of reference were too tight. That didn't go far enough. So that's why we've launched this one. I've been talking about this now for more than a year.
Sorry, I mean the other parties in Quebec. Have you spoken to any of them about what their take is on the MOU?
No, I have not.
Last question.
The complexity of this, I mean, when we talk about going to a referendum, all of the technical issues, the commercial issues, the interprovincial government, relationships, why go to a referendum, or is it realistic really to be able to take this to people and have people weigh in a way that is truly informed and
The people of Newfoundland and Labrador have been living with a 1969 agreement for so long, and they deserve to have input in a say into what the final outcome will be when the deal is ready to be signed. And so I think it's extremely important that as a government who are elected by the people of Newfoundland and Labrador, that we turn around and make sure that we bring it back to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador to have their say, and I intend to do that.